So this year's Islam Awareness Week is extra special because it's brought to you by the combined efforts of 5 Muslim students associations from Western Canada, and they include University of British Columbia, University of Alberta, Simon Fraser University, University of Regina, and of course University of Saskatchewan, along with NYMing, which is a Muslim community organization. So the goal of Islam Awareness Week is, of course, to raise awareness about Islam on campus, and at the same time, it is to give an opportunity to our non-Muslim friends, neighbors, and colleagues a chance to learn about Islam from the Muslims ourselves. So in the past 3 days so far, we've had 3 pretty awesome lectures. On Monday, we had Sheikh Muhammed from Halifax, and he gave us a lecture about divine speech, and he focused on the Quran and the other scriptures and their miracles. And then on Tuesday, we had Dr. Sayyid ibn Iqbal, and he talked about revolutionary justice. So his lecture was more about the Sharia and the wisdom behind the laws of Islam. And then lastly, yesterday, we had Sheikh Muslim Khan, who focused on family matters. So he focused more on our Prophet Muhammed, peace be upon him, and how he lived his life and how he treated his family, and how we can learn from his example. And then tonight we'll have Sheikh Ustad Abdullah al-Andalusi all the way from London, UK, and he'll be giving us a talk titled Message Delivered. So our speaker today was a former Christian of Portuguese descent. He embraced Islam at a young age after a period of study that started when he was just 10 years old. He has continued to study Islam in depth ever since. Abdullah al-Andalusi has had a lot of experience working in the Muslim community, and his activities involve researching and talking extensively on Islamic revivalism, theology, philosophy, the philosophy of science, sociology, anthropology, and political philosophy. Abdullah has delivered talks on the purpose of life, the existence of God, and the miracle of the Quran, and the wisdom of Sharia in addressing human nature throughout the UK and internationally. Furthermore, Abdullah has given extensive talks critiquing atheism, secularism, liberalism, secular democracy, and materialism. He has spoken in community centers, universities, colleges, and numerous appearances on various programs on TV channels, including BBC, ITV, BBC Arabic, Press TV, Islam Channel, and Iqra TV. He is also engaged in a number of debates with atheists, secularists, agnostics, liberals, and Christians on a variety of topics, from theology to political philosophy. And in 2009, he co-founded the public discussion forum, the Muslim Debate Initiative, a forum that promotes open dialogue and critical debate between thinkers, academics, and public speakers of all backgrounds. So without further delay, I'd like to invite Ustad Abdullah al-Andalusi to the stage.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam Nabi Kareem Muhammad wa alayhi tayyibin wa sahbihi salihin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To all my brothers and sisters in faith and to my sincere brothers and sisters in humanity, peace be upon you all. I would like to thank the University of Saskatchewan for hosting this event today and for inviting me to come here. I would also like to thank NYM Inc. for organizing this Islam Awareness Weeks in different universities and for inviting me to the beautiful country of Canada, famous globally for its maple syrup, mountains, and heroic patience having to put up with its neighbors to the south, who should not be named. I've been invited to talk about Message Delivered, which is in essence going to be covering the purpose of life and how we can find out the purpose of life and how we can see if some kind of a message has been delivered to us, or a message that we can understand would explain how human beings can fulfill their purpose of life from the Creator or from wherever is the origin of humans. Now, I would like to start out with a question, a basic question. If suddenly you kind of lost consciousness right now, everything went black, and you woke up on a desert island with some other people, what would be the first question that comes to your mind? Would it be, how are the coconuts here? Is this the 7th series of Lost? No, the question you'd ask yourself, the first basic question you ask yourself is, what am I doing here? Who or what put me here? I mean, what am I meant to be doing in this island anyway? What am I meant to do? Is it meant to escape, or is it meant to live there, or what's actually intended by people putting me onto this, or whoever put me onto this island? But every day in hospitals throughout the world, humans are waking up into this reality, into this island, i.e., planet Earth, and we don't ask these questions. We don't ask these very basic questions. Most humans are content to just accept what other humans around them are doing. And most of what you are and what you think defines you has been defined for you. So obviously your first language was taught to you. Most of your culture, which you follow, is taught to you. Most of your characteristics, most of your tastes, the food you like and so on, is taken from the environment that you were born into. I dare say that there is a very strong correlation between the beliefs that you hold and your background, so your family's beliefs or the community where you grew up beliefs. And in this situation, humans are content to merely ask the question, how? How do I pass my exams? How do I pass a job interview and get the job? How do I get a better job? How do I get a good car? For some people, or some girls, for example, they might say, how do I get a boyfriend? Others might say, how do I get a boyfriend like Justin Bieber? Other girls, how do I get Justin Bieber? So, how do I spend my Friday nights? How do I get out of this boring lecture? So these are the kind of questions that we, always ask, how? But we seldom ask, why? Why are we, doing what society expects us to do? Why are we trying to get a job? Or why are we trying to impress our parents? Or why are we trying to kind of meet the expectations of people? Or why is what is told to us is good, or a good life? Why is it good? What makes it good? And what makes bad bad? Who defines this? We don't question this. We merely accept this. And I think if you kind of spend some time just being prepared to critique and question these beliefs, I think you'll find that most of them will collapse. Most of them are very arbitrary, and they depend on you not questioning them. So let's give an example. In the West, there is a very common narrative, which if you ask most people, what is the purpose of life, or what are you living for? What do you think the purpose of your life is? And they will say, oh, the purpose of my life is to enjoy life, to enjoy the experiences, to kind of experience as much of life as possible and have a good time. I think this is the purpose of why we exist. And I say, oh, really? Well, if that's the case, then why is there suffering in the world? Why is there misery in the world? Why will people, people say when they're young, they watch these Disney films and they think that their life's going to have a happy ever after. They're going to have a brilliant, wonderful future. Of course, as they get older, they realize that life's very difficult. There is no sunset ending to your life. Some people have midlife crises. Some people, they get the job they want, they get the house they want, they get the wife they want, or the husband they want, they get the car they want, and they are miserable. And they think, is this all there is? Is this all I'm ever going to achieve? Or what should I be achieving? What is the purpose of this? I mean, I think one question, if you think about it, is, my mother used to tell me when I was younger that, okay, you study hard, son, study hard, pass your exams, and get a good job. And I remember when I was young and I was hearing this, I said, why? Why? What is the reason? But why should I do that? What is the kind of reason for that? What's the meaning behind that? And she goes, well, if you get a good job, you have a good income, and if you have a good income, then you can set up your own family, and you can give them an education. And I say, and then what? And they say, well, if they have a good education, then they can get a good job, and then they can get a good income, and then they can have a family, and then that family will hopefully have a good education and a good job and a good income, and so on and so on and so forth. And I thought, but what's the point of all that? It's just some kind of endless repetition with no particular direction. It just seems that we're just doing this same old repetition again and again and again. What is the point or the purpose of that? Is that all there is? Is that the only point of life? Is just to kind of repeat ourselves like a broken record player? Now, as I said, the common narrative you'll find in kind of most kind of Western countries is that and you're told by advertising, you're told by commercials, you're told by a lot of corporations and companies, the purpose of life is to enjoy your life. Preferably through buying their product, and you see on the adverts, everyone's all smiley faced and like, yes, I'm taking this hemorrhoid cream and I'm so happy and so on and so forth, and like, my life's completely changed and now I'm a happy person. So the difference between misery and happiness is just hemorrhoid cream. Okay, but as I said, most of your life you're going to experience is actually difficult. So, enjoying that wonderful car you're looking forward to, you have to go through, was it 4 or 5 years, maybe some people, if you're a doctor, 6 or 7, 8 years of hard study. And then you have to, trying to kind of, pass various numbers exams, and then go through job interviews, do that daily grind in the office or whichever job you might go into. And most of it you actually have to struggle for. Most of it you actually have to strive for. It's not actually so easy. Life's not giving you everything on a silver platter. You have to strive. You have to suffer, and some of you will not, will fail. I hope not, but some of you may, encounter being a plane crash or a train crash, or you might have a terminal disease. You might not even see the end of your university. And then what was the point of your life? Because if you were told that your life will naturally end in this sunset kind of ending, and you don't achieve that, then what's gone wrong there? What's happened? I thought it's the purpose of all human beings' life. Then why, if we're all equal human beings, can we not all realize that? Why are there people in the world who don't have anything to eat, whereas you have places like America where 1 in 3 people are clinically obese? I didn't believe it until I actually went there, and it actually is true. 1 in 3. It's like, wow. You can probably just count them as they go. Like 1, 2, that's okay. Third one, yeah, he's obese, and so on and so forth. I mean, like, wow. It's really as the statistics say. So why is this inequality? Aren't we all equal humans? Aren't we all equally in existence? Why is there this disparity? It's because the purpose of your life is not to have unlimited, unfettered pleasure. Pleasure is part of your life, but pain is also part of your life too. When women give birth to children, it's not a pleasurable experience. Maybe after the birthing is complete, yes, but the first bit is very painful and it's very hard. It's very difficult. If human beings were built to experience this unlimited pleasure or a constant state of bliss, then explain to me why our biology disagrees with us on this. If a drug taker takes a particular drug to get that high, to get that buzz, over time, his brain chemistry will compensate for it, and then he has to take a higher dosage to get the same high. Because pretty soon, he won't feel the high that the drug is given anymore, but he'll be dependent on those drugs. So obviously, if he stops taking them, he'll get withdrawal symptoms, you'll feel lousy, you'll feel horrible. So it seems our biology is designed for us not to be in this perfect state of bliss. Otherwise, our biology would welcome drugs, and you'd only take the same dosage for the rest of your life, and you'll be in this perfect state of bliss. But that would make us into kind of couch potatoes, into vegetables. We wouldn't do anything. And it seems to me that human beings, like most creatures in this world, like most things in this universe, are undergoing states of change. That whatever our purpose in life is, we have to undergo change. We have to do things. We have to make actions. It's not to be in this perfect state of bliss. Rather, what you kind of see, if you look at the human being, is that we have a kind of reward and punishment mechanism. Our biology gives us reward and punishment. If we do something which advances one of our basic drives that motivate our instincts, we get rewarded with pleasure. And if we are frustrated or we experience harm, we get punished, so to speak, with pain. So pain and pleasure are part of our existence. But I suppose then the question is, okay, so then what is the purpose of life? And most people think that such a question is hard to answer. I thought that many years ago myself. I thought I probably watched one too many Keanu Reeves movies and thought that you basically had to spend I don't know, like most of your life in some cave somewhere, coming to some spiritual enlightenment. And I never thought. I thought it must be some mysterious, esoteric answer, because surely it's something deep and profound if people are still asking the question about it, or don't know how to answer this question, or they seem not to know how to answer this question. But if you think about that, is that really practical? If we do have a purpose in life, then surely it should be something that's accessible to all human beings from, from a young age. Because how practical is it that you have to spend most of your life trying to work out actually why you're living your life? Doesn't make sense. It's like me say I'm going to train somebody to do a job, and this training takes 80 years. You're going to train this person. It takes 80 years to train him to do a job, and by the time he's trained, he probably has a few more years to live, and then he dies. That's not a very efficient training system. So there must be something that's accessible, that's recognizable, and that's simple, which must be our purpose of life. And this purpose of life would give us meaning and define all the actions we do and all the whole gamut and range of human experiences that we experience. But I'm not one to make assumptions, and I think a more fundamental question is there even a purpose of life? Now, in London or in England, we have quite a lot of atheists, and a lot of them are of the very militant kind, and so they're always kind of questioning the points. Now, that's good. I mean, obviously, some of them have adopted certain positions, without justification, intellectual justification, but then they will critique from that position. All right, okay, fine, if that's that's their choice. But I've kind of grown accustomed to not making assumptions and not inviting my audiences to make assumptions about things. And one assumption is there a purpose of life? So I think this is going to be a more fundamental question, which we're going to have to go through. Is there actually a purpose of life? Well, what does purpose mean? What is the meaning of purpose? What does it mean to actually have a purpose? It means that there's an intention behind your existence, that you are intended, or you're intended to do something. So, like a car has a purpose. Why? Because a car is intended to transport people. So it has a purpose. It was made for transportation. So then, is there an intention behind our existence? Is the question that we must ask. And how do we find out what's our intention? We have to look at our origins. We have to look at what created us. Ultimately, what created us, and does this thing have an intention? Does this thing actually, did it intend for us to exist? Now, I think this is going to be a more fundamental question. And I think we should start by not only just looking at humans, but looking at everything in the universe. Because we're made of inanimate matter, we're made of the same matter as stars, planets, solar celestial bodies, galaxies, and so on and so forth. We see that everything in this universe that exists, very fundamental observation, everything that exists in this universe has certain nature, has certain defined attributes about it. Now, I think a very simple question is, what defined everything that exists? What caused it to have the attributes that you see it exists? For example, if I said that there's a guy that has a guy called Bob and he has blue eyes, why does he have blue eyes? Did he one answer is maybe he made himself, but that's absurd because you have to exist first before you can do anything, and to make yourself, it would be contradictory. So there's something defined him, basic rationality, something defined Bob to have blue eyes. And because the question is, why does he have blue eyes and not brown eyes or red eyes or green eyes? Why is his eyes maybe a particular shape and size and not twice as big? Or why is it not more rounded or more slanted or whatever? Why is it a particular kind of attributes? And then obviously, any reasonable person would know that, well, whatever caused Bob to come into existence, in this case maybe his parents and his genes, that caused him to have that particular attributes that he have. So whatever caused him to come into existence defined the attributes that he'd have. So then a fundamental question is, what defined everything that exists? The entire universe, what defined the constants, the universal constants that we see in this universe, the amount of energy that in this universe, that obviously some of it coalesced into mass, but what defined the total amount of energy that's in the universe? And define the universe would be the exact size it is. I mean, I don't know how big the universe is, but what defined the exact size the universe is? Maybe why is not the universe twice as big or half as big as what it is? And I think I'll start with using an example which I think we can all see every day. And I asked the people in the university for this prop, and they all think to myself, why the hell does he want this? It's a rock. I call this my philosopher's stone, and it's not a prop from Harry Potter films. Very simple. Now, I could bring out a watch, but again, being from England and London, I'm very cautious. An atheist would say, watchmaker argument. Okay, I'm bringing out a rock. It's not man-made as far as I know, although it's got a very flat surface on one side. But It's not man-made. Okay, it's not man-made as far as I know. It's just a rock. Simple question. How do you know this rock was created? How do you know this rock had a start point? Yeah, you might say, well, you know, I studied geology and I've seen, you know, processes that would lead to rock formation. Okay, that's fine, that's great. But did you see this rock being created? Did you see this rock being made? No. So then how do you know that this rock is not an eternal rock, hasn't always existed? How do you know this? And it's simple rationality. Simple question, why is this rock its particular shape? It's particular, it's got a few different colors, but why is it these particular colors in its particular kind of format? Why is it a particular weight? Why is it not twice as big or half as big as what it is? Why is it a particular size and density and so on and so forth and mass? It's because whatever processes cause this rock to come into existence, it caused these particular attributes. Now, it takes science, obviously, for us to work out the physical processes that produce this rock, but we know, without need of science, that this rock had a cause, and the cause is outside of this rock. So everything in this universe, by extension, was caused to come into existence, was created and came into existence. But this brings up another question. What is the nature of this creating thing, this cause? What is it then? What is this cause? And there are only two possibilities. One, this cause is something which is also, like this rock, it is defined, it is, we could say finite, it's limited, like this rock has a finite number of, finite mass, a finite density, it's limited, it's got a shape and so on, it's finite, to be defined, from definis, Latin, and also finite, limited. So, is it something which is also limited, like this rock, or is it something which is not limited, or unlimited, or infinite? Well, let's take the first possibility. Is this something, this cause, this creating force, is it a finite thing? Does it have is it limited and so on and so forth? Well, if it was, then the question is, then what defined that? What defined this creator? And if you say, oh, well, maybe something else, and maybe something else, and maybe something else, and you say, you know, ad infinitum for it, like an infinite chain of, you know, creating things. So maybe like people say that there was a universe before this universe, it, you know, expanded, it crunched, and then it produced a singularity, and then from that singularity, this universe came into existence. So there was, and there's been a chain of universes before this universe came to existence, and so on. Okay, all right. And they say that maybe it's an infinite chain of this, maybe it's an infinite eternal chain of universes, one, you know, popping into existence and then you know, crunching out of existence. Okay. What if I told you that I had an infinite number of ancestors? That I had, you know, my mom and dad, and my grandparents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and my great-grandparents, and so on and so forth, to an infinite degree, an infinite number of them, like an infinite chain or infinite number of ancestors. Would I come into existence? Would you exhaust, would all those, I mean, if I basically said to you that you have to wait an infinite amount of minutes to leave this lecture. After you've exhausted an infinite number of minutes, then you can leave this lecture. Would you ever leave this lecture? No. So there has to be a starting point. There has to be a point where the first universe was created and then started the chain reaction or whatever is the situation which is outside this universe. There has to be a start point. It can't be the first option. It can't be an infinite chain of finite things. We have to reach a point where you say, stop. At this point, there must be something, an ultimate cause which is not finite and not limited. And it's infinite, basically, an infinite first cause. Now, there are, actually a lot of atheists would agree, okay, yes, there is an infinite first cause. And they would slap this label saying, okay, we'll call this the multiverse. Interesting, they still have to use the word infinite. Yeah, it is an infinite first cause. Yes, it is. But it's a multiverse. It's mindless. It's an automatic process. It just makes universes, makes things, creates things without no intention behind it. Firstly, how do you know? But okay, we won't go there. So okay, let's humor the argument. Okay, simple question then. What made the multiverse create universes? What's making it make universes? There's two possibilities. One, something is compelling or forcing the multiverse to make universe. Something outside the multiverse is making the multiverse, make universe. It's like basically the car. If you see a car, being driven, it's not the car that's obviously the cause of it moving and turning. It's rather it's petrol and the driver behind the driver's seat. So in this situation, the multiverse isn't the first cause. It's whatever is outside of the multiverse. There's another force then that's making the multiverse make universes. So the multiverse is not the first cause, and so there has to be a first cause somewhere. So they'll say, all right, fine. There's an internal mechanism. There's an internal mechanism inside the multiverse which makes it create universes, makes it create everything that exists. Okay, an internal mechanism. Okay, what is making that internal mechanism create universes then? And they might say, oh, maybe another mechanism, and another mechanism, and so on and so forth. Okay, it's like me saying, asking someone, how does a watch work? And this person says, well, its internal mechanism is making it work. So, oh, okay, what is its internal mechanism? Oh, it's not a watch. It's a smaller watch inside. If you open it up, there's a smaller watch inside it. Okay, and what's inside that watch? Oh, it's an even smaller watch, which is driving it. Okay, and what's inside that one? Oh, it's an even more smaller watch, like a babushka doll, a timepiece babushka doll. If this was ad infinitum, again, if there's an infinite chain of them, none of them, no mechanisms, there would be no battery, there would be no wind-up spring, nothing would work. The watch you're showing to me wouldn't work. There has to be a start point, a beginning, a power cell, or a wind-up spring that actually initiates the mechanism going. So those possibilities don't work. The multiverse cannot be mindless. It cannot be an automatic process. We're only left with the only other possibility, and it's a very profound possibility. Well, it's the only possibility. That whatever this infinite first cause is, this unlimited infinite first cause is, it initiated the creation of this universe because it wanted to. It initiated it. And this universe is a particular, remember I said it's a particular size. It's not twice as big as what it is or half as big as what it is. It's a particular size. It's got particular constants in it and so on and so forth. It could be twice as big. It could be half as big. But why isn't it twice as big or why isn't it half as big? It's because whatever caused this universe to exist has to have made a choice from infinite possibilities. So this infinite first cause, or this creator, can initiate and it can choose. And what do we call this? It's called a will. That's the definition of will. It's the only rational possibility. And what does that mean then? That means that everything that exists, your life, everything that has ever happened to you, the sun, the moon, the planets, the galaxies, and so everything that exists was willed, was intended. And now we can say, what is our purpose of life? Now, first and foremost, what are we to this creator? What are we to it? What does the creator want from us? Obviously the creator, if it is infinite and unlimited, doesn't need anything from us, doesn't need us to give it food or anything like that. It's timeless, it's not bound within time, so it doesn't have an end to its existence or a beginning to its existence, and it would have to be unchanging, otherwise that would need a start point. So it's unchanging, it's eternal. So then what is the relationship, the first relationship between us and this creator? Just using our deduction. First and foremost, we are an evidence of the existence of the creator. Just like this rock, you could say, is an evidence of geological processes which caused it, and this university is an evidence of builders who made it and the people, various academics who might have initiated the building of this university. We are an evidence of what created us, and this must be the first and foremost what all things in creation are. We are evidence of the existence of the creator. But that's not all. We're not all frozen in time. We're not all static. We're not just like a picture on the wall. We are moving. We are changing. We are developing. We are transforming. So there's something more then. There is something, and this is intended, by the way. So there is something more than just simply existing. if we're all moving, we're all changing, we're all developing, what you'll see in this, I don't know who studies physics or astrophysics. Anyone study physics or astrophysics here? No? Oh, tough crowd. Okay, anyone study the geological sciences or any kind of the physical sciences? Oh, you, sir. Okay. I think what you'll know is that basically any two objects in this universe, they can interact with each other. And the interaction will generally take place in the form of a force. So basically the interaction between any two objects is called a force because of, one of the four fundamental forces of the universe is what they say the more fundamentalist force, but it doesn't matter. Objects, they seem to interact, and they interact according to regularities. Right? So basically, if I throw this stone at the brick wall with this, the same with this particular mass that it has, it'll make a little it'll take a chip out of the wall to a certain extent. If I threw the exact same stone at the exact same wall with the exact same angle and same momentum and same energy, precisely to the very atom of precision, then it'll probably create the same effect. So you do the same thing again, it creates exactly the same effect again. There's a regularity in how we all interact and how all these objects interact in the universe. And the purpose of science, what is the purpose of science? It's to map out these regularities. And what do they call? But they use another term for these regularities between the behavior of objects, and they call it laws, the laws of physics, the laws of the universe. And we see that these laws are intended to exist. The laws that we see in this universe are intended. But we are part of this universe too. You are part of this universe. You're all part of this universe as well, like this rock. But we are much more complex than this rock. Even this rock, the laws of physics is sufficient. But we have intellect, we have will, we have free will, we have the ability to choose. We are more complex creatures than animals. Animals can live in a very simple equilibrium with their environment. But we, using our mind, we can change, we can develop, we can create new realities for ourselves. We can build, we can control our own environment, our own situation. Obviously, we're not out in the cold. We've built a nice building for ourselves and made it air conditioned. We control the sources, of our food. So we invented animal husbandry. We invented farming. And for those sources of food that we couldn't control, we improved our tools of collecting those resources, like fishing nets, for example. We built those. So we are much more complex than animals and than rocks. And we have the ability to build abstract models of the universe, to build knowledge. And we act upon this knowledge. We can improve and we can try to satisfy our basic creature needs, like animals. But animals can, they seek their creature needs, but we can actually improve how we seek these needs. An animal has to go out hunting for its food, depending on the type of animal, of course. And it might not always be successful, but we can actually control our own food sources. We can think ahead. We can plot a few steps ahead. We can adapt strategies if we face obstacles. It seems like intellect gives us the ability to overcome obstacles and seek our objectives. But what are these objectives? What is intended for human existence? In essence, what is the natural law for humans? The thing about finding the natural law for humans is, and it's very difficult, is that we know the Creator intended us to have some kind of a law, because obviously we clearly have attributes and characteristics. But what is the context to study human beings to discover it? I mean, are we meant to live in a tundra existence? Are we meant to live in a desert? Are we meant to live in a cave? Are we meant to live in luscious green fields in Holland? Where are we meant to, green of grass, of course, not all the kind of green. So what kind of environment are we meant to live in, and to study what is the natural context or what is the natural attributes and laws of human beings? And the thing is that we don't know. We're so complex creatures. We're much more complex than animals in terms of our emotions as well. Animals can have anger and they can feel fear and they can feel all these emotions like we do. But we can kind of make it much more advanced, like romance and respect and the concept of honor, the concept of hatred and revenge. These are very human kind of manifestations of emotion. Our facial muscles are more complex than the primates and other kinds of creatures. We can express far greater range of emotions on our faces. Our faces were designed to do so. It was intended to do so. So we're much more complex. But unfortunately, we're not born with a user manual. If only. Unfortunately, there was no user guide. And it seems that the Creator expected us, intended us, to have the capacity to detect His existence via using our mind. So that's intended. So the Creator intended us to detect His existence using our mind. The Creator intended us to have have a natural law that defines our existence, a very complex one, and intended us to have a mind that can understand knowledge and build conceptual models. So then it seems to me that how are we going to obtain knowledge of our natural law, which we have to know to live by? Because the Creator intended all things to live by the natural law. Clearly by observation, you can see that. So then how do we obtain this? We need guidance. We need a message of some kind. We should expect that, because this Creator made us this way. How do we live? How do we distribute resources amongst human beings? Do we invent communism, or is it capitalism? Just look on the news and see the fruits of both of those systems. As good intention as we try, the human systems we create to organize ourselves and manage ourselves are chaotic. If we focus on one thing, we lose out on something else. If we focus on trying to get people to buy and sell and generate commerce using capitalism, you'll find that rich people then have a mass accumulation of wealth, and people the vast majority of people will lose that wealth and not have that sufficient wealth to satisfy. Now, the people who invented capitalism are not evil people. They were probably very good-intentioned people, Adam Smith and John Locke and so on and so forth. Very good-intentioned people, but humans are too complex. And again, with the communists, well, we all know what happened there. Yeah, you can give everyone equal salary and equal wages, but then they lose the motivation to improve in their professions. They lose the motivation to work very hard and put in overtime and so on if they get paid exactly the same as someone who does the bare minimum quality of work. And that led to many problems with Soviet quality equipment that was produced in their factories. Of course, they found some ways to motivate people by commissars or political officers with a pistol and the promise of your family being sent to a gulag. But is that how we were meant to live? Can that really, in essence, what I'm really asking are, how do we find a system that can address our nature? Because our nature needs to be addressed. And I think to sum it up, about the Creator making us and us expecting guidance from the Creator. For those who think, well, maybe we don't need to expect guidance. Well, think about this. Imagine you were successful at a job interview. You got a job, and it was a lucrative job, it was a very good job, it was a complex job as well. And you turned up on your first day of work to the department you were meant to turn up in. And when you got there was no one waiting for you there. No manual, no orientation video, no member of staff that you can be an apprentice to or work shadow. Heck, you don't even know which computer is yours. I'm assuming it's an office job. What would you think? Would you think that, oh yeah, okay, HR invited me here, to do nothing, so that's fine. No, you think maybe HR made a mistake. Maybe I got the wrong start day. Maybe this is not the start day. I made it wrong. There's a typo in the letter I received, or whatever. You wouldn't think that basically you were invited to do a job which no one would tell you how to do. Well, the biggest job is life. The biggest task, the biggest career is human life, which the Creator intended you to do. And you think He wouldn't give you some kind of guidance. Of course He would. So we expect a message or some kind of an intelligible communication, because we have the capacity to understand and build conceptual models. So we expect a message. And this message should ideally come through one of us, from a human being like ourselves. Because when you start a job which is complex, requires a number of tasks, you have to work shadow somebody or be an apprentice. You have to imitate. You need someone to imitate and show you the ropes, show you how to live that life, or do that job, rather. And then this messenger would have some form of authentication. That, example, if you receive a message from, if you apparently received a message from your boss saying you're fired, but you didn't receive it as a letter, you received it just a friend that you at work. You said, hey, I discovered you're fired, so take your stuff and go. What would you do? You'd say, oh, is that the case? I'll just walk out then. He said, no, can you at least take me to the boss? Or is there a letter? Or you have some kind of form of signed order or memo or something like this that says I'm fired and I should leave my job? You want authentication before you walk out of your office and so on, because it's very important. So likewise, anyone that comes with a message from the Creator with this guidance has to have some form of authentication. Now, I'd like to posit a situation which I think is a situation where we have a message from the Creator. 1,400 years ago, there was a man called Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who was born in Arabia. He was a merchant by profession, and he came from an esteemed and noble tribe. He lived during a time where his people were governed by tribal politics, feuding, superstition, and polytheism. And the Arabs they excelled at three things, basically: survival, poetry, and endless fighting. And the Prophet Muhammad, who was respected in that society, who was from a noble lineage, and they respected lineage in that society, suddenly sacrificed all the respect, all the attachments of kin and friendship to reveal a message that would go contrary to everything the Arabs had known, everything the Arabs treasured and esteemed. He changed their way of thinking with a message that he brought and created a social and intellectual phenomenon, the like of which changed the entire region and the ripples of which haven't ceased. He brought this message from the Creator called the Quran, a book unlike any other book. It's not chronologically arranged, nor is the book a book of philosophy like Plato's works, and nor is it written in a narrative style like the Bible, and neither is it written in some spiritual instructional form like Vedic texts. And the thing about this book, the Quran, was that, and very strangely, it doesn't conform to any known literary style. It's not prose, it's not poetry, but it surpasses prose in the informational content it can convey, and it surpasses poetry in the rhythmic and emotive language it can convey. And interesting enough, the Prophet Muhammad, it seemed, I mean, if he was a great thinker, and maybe he was, let's say, assuming he wasn't a prophet, let's say he wasn't a messenger of God, as he claimed he was, and just a great thinker. We could all agree he had great ideas. There was great ideas he was saying and explaining to people. I mean, and there's been many great thinkers throughout human history, that have changed the lives of human beings by their thoughts. John Locke and Adam Smith and so on and so forth, Plato and all these people, and they just relied on their ideas to convince people, and people could accept or not these ideas, and they didn't feel the need to use it to do anything else. This was acceptable just to kind of use their ideas, and obviously some of their ideas are obviously discovered to be fallacious, and some of their ideas seem good, and when you apply them, maybe they don't work. But generally speaking, these were thinkers, and they just said, well, here's my ideas. But they would have never risked their message by giving a criteria for acceptance which could have basically destroyed all their credibility. And what I mean by this is that the Prophet Muhammad, if he was just a great thinker, then it wouldn't make sense for him to offer his enemies, and these people didn't like him because he challenged their entire way of life, an easy way to refute him. The Arabs were famous for their poetry. When you're in the desert, there's not really much to do except, wordsmith, as they say. It's very similar to, you see some gang cultures who like rapping. It's very similar. And in this situation, the Arabs were, Arabic is a very expressive language in of itself. And the Arabs were very proud of their poetic abilities. I mean, there was amazing, literary minds, geniuses at the time of the Prophet Muhammad in the literary language of Arabic. But the Quran made a challenge. It challenged all of them. And it said, not only is the ideas, would you find them that they made sense, but if you doubt that this Quran comes from the one it claims it comes from, and it's not Muhammad. Muhammad never claimed he could write it. He never claimed that he wrote it under inspiration. he couldn't do any of that. But rather, the Quran claims it comes from the Creator. And it says that if you doubt that this Quran comes from the Creator, then write a book like it. But then it made it easier for them. So, okay, can't do that? Write 10 chapters like it. And again, okay, you can't do that? Then write just one chapter like it. And the smallest chapter in the Quran only has 10 words. Can anyone imitate 10 words to the same literary merit? And I'm not talking about subjective taste here. With the same informational content, with the same style as the Quran could. And they challenged all the Arab poets to do so. So instead of what they did was they persecuted Prophet Muhammad. So instead of persecuting him, instead of fighting him, instead of having whole wars against Prophet Muhammad, instead of doing all that, all you could have done to destroy the entire message of Islam and reduce it to a laughingstock was write 10 measly words. And if you think about it, I mean, look, just think about how bold that challenge is. If I said that let's say I said I was a prophet of God, and I went to, and I was a great rapper, and I said, right, this rap comes from God. And I went to, places in America, all these gang places and so on and so forth, and said, make a rap that's 10 words long, like mine, or better than mine, to refute me. Otherwise, you must believe I'm the prophet of God, or whatever. That's a very bold statement when I'm going to places where people are geniuses at rap. I mean, amazing at rap. That's a very, very bold statement if you can't back it up. But this is what the Quran did. And it's interesting, it's not just one of these miracles. You see, people said that a miracle is a sign, obviously, from the Creator, because the Creator made the laws of the universe, so only He can break the laws of his own laws when He needs to. So the Quran is not like, making the sea part. The Quran is not like, healing the sick, instantly, because you can't see that. You can't see Moses, parting the sea. You can't see Jesus healing the sick. You can't see it. You have to rely on what people tell you. Said, he did that. And there are people who say that people are healing the sick today, for example. All kinds of cult leaders and all kinds of, flim-flam people, whatever, con artists and so on and so forth. One person said that he could cure amputees. Just recently I came on a TV show, long story. So the thing about the Quran is it's a rational miracle. You don't actually have to witness some kind of event occurring and so on. Maybe you're hallucinating, maybe you imagine it. No, it's a rational miracle. You can test it. It's an intellectually based one. And what I mean by rational miracle is, for example, okay, we know the rules of chess, right? We know the rules of chess. And if I could show you a one-move checkmate without breaking any of the rules of chess, without cheating, without changing the rules of how pieces move, and if I could show you a one-move checkmate, that would be a rational miracle. It would be a miracle. A miracle that obviously you can only comprehend intellectually, because obviously you have to know about what the rules of the chess are. And likewise, language has rules. And I don't know if anyone studies linguistics here. Anyone studies linguistics? No? Oh, really tough crowd. All right. Linguistics, there are rules, metrical rules, quantitative rules. There's only a finite number of meanings you can put into any text. Only a finite number of meanings into any text. And if you want to make the text rhythmic or rhyming, you can put even less meanings in that text. And what you find with rap, for example, to convey meaning and to kind of continue the rhyme, sometimes they invent words, or they put words out of disjoint when they go, yeah, or okay. It's like Little John, sorry. I don't listen to him, by the way, but what's this okay or yeah? I mean, like, what meaning are you adding to the sentence or the text? Like, no, it makes the sound flow. But it doesn't add any meaning in it, and it's kind of disjointed. But the thing about the Quran is that it has a perpetual rhythm maintained throughout the entire book and throughout each chapter, without needing to invent words or slot words in or invent new words like shizzle my nizzle and all that kind of stuff, which is not English, is it? But you can invent new words to make a rap flow. But the Quran when it confronted these poets, and it just said to these poets that this is Arabic, pure and clear. Where in this, basically, where in this Quran has any word been invented or anything been created just to kind of maintain this flow? It hasn't. It's Arabic, as you know, using all the grammatical rules of Arabic, and it can achieve things that I would say is unachievable in any language. Just to give an example, just one example, and I'll move on. In any language, there's only a finite number of meanings you can say that one sentence can mean. So, for example, if I say Bob eats, shoots, and leaves. Bob eats, shoots, and leaves. Now, either it means that Bob eats, shoots, and leaves, or it means that he eats, shoots, and then he leaves, or that he eats, shoots, and then leaves. Now, two of those meanings are relevant to an eating context. If I'm writing about a restaurant experience of Bob, maybe two of those meanings would make sense. The third meaning would be absurd, but that's about 3 meanings maximum. One absurd, 2 relevant. But in Quranic verses, it can produce, in some cases, 6 or 8 or 10 meanings in each sentence or verse, rather. And all these meanings are relevant. They're different from each other, and they're true. And this was a kind of challenge that the Quran was positing to the Arabs. Like, do things like this. See if you can imitate this. And this was the signature of the Prophet Muhammad, we believe, and his prophethood. Now, the Prophet Muhammad, if he was a man who was out to con people to believe what he has to say, and he was a flim-flam merchant and so on and so forth, he was a cult leader, and obviously, as you know, there are many cult leaders in the world. There are many people who say, listen to me, I'll tell you what to do, I have the will of God behind me, and all these kind of, wacky people, I believe they're called politicians. Everyone's telling you what to do and say that they know, but, and they would obviously capitalize on any opportunity they can to show that they are special. But the Prophet Muhammad, first of all, he didn't say he was divine. He's not the son of God. He didn't say he's God incarnate or someone special beyond just being a simple human being like us, flesh and blood, with the same fallibilities as any human being. Although, as we believe, except that he couldn't commit sin, and the reason for that is if you can actually basically break the laws of natural law of human beings, he's trying to show us it wouldn't really make sense. So he have to be a perfect example, otherwise, and the Creator would have to intend that. Otherwise, it would be a flawed message. And how is the will of the Creator flawed? But anyway, there was one situation where the Prophet Muhammad had a baby son, and this son died. And now he'd been trying to convince a lot of his fellow tribesmen that he was, the Prophet of God, and that he had a message for them. And they were rejecting him, and they were laughing at him, and they were persecuting him. But when his son died, there was a solar eclipse. And them, being superstitious people, thought, wow, even the sun mourns for this guy Muhammad. He must indeed be someone special, be blessed, be divinely blessed. And they came, rushing to him and rushing to his house. And now was his chance. Now was the Prophet Muhammad's chance to say, yes, indeed, this, even the sun mourns for me. I am indeed blessed. You should believe in me. I am a prophet of God, and so on and so forth. But what did he say to them? What did he say? In essence, he said, it's a coincidence. It's celestial phenomena. Just celestial phenomena. It happens. It's part of the natural world. Wouldn't a cult leader or someone who was trying to con people or trying to get them to believe in a false myth, wouldn't they say, yes, of course it is, it's a sign, it's an omen, it's a sign? No, because the Prophet Muhammad was a man of truth. And he didn't need such omens and things and so on and so forth, because what he was given was proof enough. And the Quran brought a message, a very important message, that there was nothing worthy of worship except this unlimited and infinite Creator. Nothing in this universe. No idols made of stone, no idols made of wood or human vanity that should be worshipped. The Creator is not a human being, doesn't have human fallibilities, and is not subject to human emotions. He is not like us. He is the Creator of humans. He is not human himself. And when I use the word he or him, I'm not saying that the Creator is male. I'm using this just to indicate that it has a will. That's all. The Creator is not male or female. But one of the most interesting things about the Quran is, firstly, it doesn't say its message is new. It says that the Quran is just, the message of the Quran is just another reiteration of guidance for mankind that has come to every single nation throughout human history. Oh, and wouldn't that actually make sense, considering that surely the humans shouldn't have had to wait hundreds of thousands of years for one person in Arabia to bring the guidance for human purpose. If humans were being given guidance by God or the Creator, it would have had to come for every human civilization. It has to be accessible to every human civilization. And so the Prophet Muhammad is not the first prophet of God, nor the first messenger of God. And one of the most interesting things about the Quran is the Quran is not a book that says, right, well, you know, this is how things are, so just accept what it is because this book says so. That's not its approach. Its approach is, it tells human beings to think and observe the universe. My whole beginning of this, heaven and earth and that which is between them, aimlessly, with no purpose. This is the assumption of those who disbelieve. And then the Quran talks about the universal law set for all objects and things. It says to human beings it was referring to some human beings who wish to rebel, or wish to not seek their purpose and not follow their purpose in life. It says, do they seek a religion other than the religion of God, while whatever is in the heavens and the earth submits to Him willingly and will return to Him for account. The Quran tells mankind that we have a purpose, and we have free will, and we will be held accountable. In the Quran it says in one verse, did you think that you were created without purpose, and that you would not be brought back to us? God is telling us that you will not be brought back to Him. And again the Quran says about guidance, that we should expect guidance from God. The Quran says, does man think that he's to be left directionless or aimless? And again in the Quran it says, God is saying to mankind, I did not create mankind or jinn except to worship me. The Quran establishes the Creator as the center of all things, where it says in the Quran, God is the creator of everything and He is in charge of everything. And in the Quran, unlike other religions, it doesn't say that we are the center of the universe. We are the center of creation. In the Quran it says, the creation of the heavens and the earth is indeed greater than the creation of mankind. Yet most of mankind know this not. That we are not, it's not a human-centric universe. The universe is much greater, much more bigger than us. We're just part of it. We're not the center of it. Amazing, because as astrophysics and astronomers are discovering, that is indeed true. We are not the center of the universe. We're just part of this universe. Sounds like the Quran, the author of the Quran knows the reality of the human situation within this universe. And importantly, the Quran says that the Creator is not like the creation. It says, say God is one, as the fundamental, like he's not divisible. You say God is one, the self-sufficient. He begets not, nor was He begotten. There is nothing like unto Him. Nothing created Him, and He has no need to create. You know when people say, I mean, okay, when people say, you know, I want to have a child, I want to have a son or a daughter, it's because generally, you know, they want someone to succeed them. They want to feel that after they die, there is something, you know, there is some part of them that lives on and will continue to live on because they have a limited lifespan. But what need does God have to have a son when He is unlimited and infinite, when He has no end to His existence? What need does He have to procreate or to make copies of Himself or so on and so forth? Islam, when we talk about there is nothing worthy of worship except God, this is because the ultimate principle of Islam is that we don't mix the finite with the infinite. We keep them separate. Creation is creation. Humans are human. But God is God. God doesn't come down into time and space. He doesn't become an avatar. He doesn't become a human being or a creature of some kind, or like Zeus would become a swan or something like that in Greek mythology, and come down to earth. He is outside of time and space. He's not limited. He has no form. He has no shape. So the message of the Quran is you keep the infinite infinite and you keep the finite finite, and you know which direction you should be worshipping in. The Creator orders us with a law that will solve our problems, and for problems that are too complex for humans to understand. Even if it's even things which seem counterintuitive. The Quran says, but you may dislike something which is good for you, and you may like something which is bad for you. God knows, and you know not. The Quran is a rationally consistent book. It has no, we don't have problematic theologies like some man-made theologies or man-made theories or philosophies about the universe. The Quran says, and do they not reflect upon the Quran? Had it been from anyone other than God, you would have found many contradictions in it. And again, the Quran is not just simply a book that teaches you how to pray or how to live your life only consisting of Sunday worship or Saturday worship or Friday worship, but rather it instructs you how to live your entire life and gives human beings value and gives human beings and the actions and laws values. And the Quran says, and we sent our messengers with clear signs, clear proofs of that they are messengers of God, and sent them down with the book and the balance so that men may conduct themselves with justice. The Quran is comprehensive in scope. It's not saying that the purpose of man is to be an ascetic, going into a cave and living a pious life, just being in a cave, free from social contact. We are social creatures. Being social is part of our nature. That's part of our lives. And the Quran is comprehensive in scope. It urges us to live fully balanced and fully realized human lives. The Quran caters for both our private, our spiritual, our social, and our political needs. And in the Quran it says, say verily, my prayers, my sacrifice, my living and my dying are for God, for the Lord of all that exists. Every aspect of our life is centered around God. And it's not some affectatious sentence. For example, some people say that I live by the law of love, or I live by the law of spirit. And I say, well, what does that mean? Okay, well, please tell me your economic system to solve world poverty. The law of love isn't really loving anymore. This or doesn't love to explain. You need a fully comprehensive system. In Islam, we are given a system of how to organize human relationships, how to organize societies, so that we actually can all achieve our natural inclinations as human beings, to be fully realized people, not to be individualistic and selfish, but rather to help each other, to help people who are less fortunate than ourselves. Because that's why God created those who are fortunate, those who are less fortunate. It's because the law of human beings is that those who have help those who have not. And those who have not receive from those who have. And Islam solves problems like poverty. It has an economic system that bans interest, it bans monopolies, it bans the kind of horrific practices you get in capitalism, but at the same time, it provides profit motives as an incentive to develop and improve your work, unlike communism does. So Islam is always about balance, not about going to an extreme in one direction or the other. And as Muslims, and I will say this to Muslims as well, that we too, in this world today, we too are remiss with this objective. Islam gave us solutions to solve our problems, our political problems, our social problems, but if we focus only on our private selves and only on just worshipping, these problems won't go away, they won't be solved. Praying to God to solve your problems is not going to bring the solution, because God gave you the solution to solve your problems. There's a saying, God helps those who help themselves. And I think, I would say to Muslims as well, that the Muslim world is far from perfect, and we've had many historical problems and situations, invasions and things, and colonialism that has affected ourselves. And we too have to embrace our purpose in life as well, and implement a comprehensive way of life upon ourselves as well. So this lecture is not... What's that? Is that a fire alarm? Oh. All right, that was a subtle hint for me to shut up or come to an end. All right. So I think as well, not just this message is not just for Muslims, for non-Muslims here, but also for Muslims as well, that we also should also realize our purpose in life and realize that just focusing on our own private lives is insufficient. The fully realized human is a human that is involved in all matters of human affairs. And this was what the Prophet Muhammad was. He was involved in all. He wasn't an ascetic. He was a leader. He was a father. He was a husband. He was a friend. He was a fighter for justice. He was involved in all affairs of human experience. And this is the message of Islam. The word Islam derives from the Arabic root istislam, which means submission, submission to our natural law, submission to the law for human beings. The message of Islam is the voluntary submission of humans to our ordained natural law, to take our place in the universe and to enter into a relationship of acknowledgement and indebtedness to the creator of existence. We believe that Prophet Muhammed was sent as a mercy to mankind, to bringing us guidance from the creator for governing human life, bringing liberation and freedom from the oppression and burdens that mankind has imposed upon itself, as the Quran says about what God gives to us. He will enjoin upon them that which is right and forbid upon them that which is wrong. He will make lawful for them all the good things and prohibit for them all the bad things. And he will relieve them of their burden and the bondages they used to wear. Islam is about liberation, not about subjugation. In conclusion, those without prejudice who use their creator-given mind will conclude that the creator of the universe has instructed mankind over centuries of our purpose. And it is this last iteration of guidance, the message of Islam, that we find the creator's guidance for mankind, a message delivered. Thank you.